A Nazi soldier rides through the battlefield on a white horse, inspecting the aftermath of the fighting. Suddenly, he's ambushed and killed by Sergeant Don War Daddy Collier. After letting the horse run free, War Daddy climbs back into his Sherman tank, Fury, where his crew is waiting: Boyd Bible Swan, Trini Gordo Garcia, and Grady Kunas Travis. As Kunas repairs the damaged tank, he vents his anger at War Daddy over everything they've been through. The crew is exhausted and heartbroken after losing one of their own. Just as Fury is repaired, they come under attack, but they manage to leave the battlefield and return to the Allied camp. There, Sergeant Binkowski greets War Daddy. During their conversation, another soldier asks where the rest of War Daddy's platoon is, only to learn that his crew are the only survivors. Meanwhile, Bible, Gordo, and Kunas quietly remember their fallen friend, Red. War Daddy soon joins them and gives everyone their next orders. Once he's alone, it's clear that he's grieving Red's death just as much as the others. A little later, Private Norman Ellison introduces himself as War Daddy's new assistant driver and bow gunner. War Daddy is shocked to find out that Norman has only been in the army for 8 weeks. Realizing how inexperienced he is, War Daddy tells him to follow orders, stick with the crew, and avoid getting too attached to anyone. Norman finds the crew working on Fury. Gordo grabs his bag, hoping to find cigarettes, but instead discovers a book. The crew questions Norman about his military experience and quickly starts intimidating him. Kunas then orders him to clean the inside of the tank. At the same time, War Daddy is discussing the situation with other soldiers when an SS prisoner is brought into camp. Furious, War Daddy and several others begin attacking the prisoner until their fellow soldiers pull them away. Afterward, War Daddy tells Norman that every German soldier he sees is an enemy that must be killed. He soon learns that Norman has never taken a life before. War Daddy hands him a pistol while Kunas explains how to use it. War Daddy then joins the other officers to discuss their next mission, where he is assigned to lead the platoon as its sergeant. Once the briefing is over, the men climb into their tanks and head out. Along the road, they pass civilians fleeing the war. War Daddy warns everyone to stay alert because enemy soldiers could easily be hiding among them. As they continue moving, Norman spots someone hiding near the tree line but hesitates to pull the trigger. His hesitation gives the enemy enough time to launch a deadly ambush. One of the Allied tanks explodes, and Norman watches in horror as a burning soldier ends his own life to escape the pain. War Daddy quickly leads the counterattack and wipes out the attackers, only to discover they were just teenage boys. Furious, War Daddy confronts Norman for freezing up and tells him that his hesitation cost innocent men their lives. Carrying that guilt, Norman follows the platoon as War Daddy continues leading the mission. The platoon finally reaches its destination, where another soldier escorts War Daddy to Captain Wagoner. The captain is frustrated that he never received the reinforcements he requested, but he still trusts War Daddy to get the job done. Their mission is to rescue a group of Allied soldiers trapped deep inside enemy territory. After preparing for battle, War Daddy leads the platoon toward the rescue operation. When they reach the trapped soldiers, the rescue begins immediately. The tanks move in first while the infantry follows behind. Before long, German forces open fire, and an intense battle erupts. The enemy is heavily armed with machine guns and anti-tank weapons. Gordo angrily orders Norman to finish off wounded enemy soldiers lying on the ground. Norman refuses, believing they're already dying, but Gordo insists on making sure they're dead. Overwhelmed by everything happening around him, Norman breaks down and says he can't keep fighting. After the battle, the platoon successfully defeats the Nazi forces. War Daddy puts a stop to it and orders Norman to execute the prisoner. When Norman refuses, War Daddy forces the revolver into his hand and makes him pull the trigger. The German dies instantly, leaving Norman deeply traumatized. Bible helps him back to his feet, and as they return to the group, the crew explains that although War Daddy is tough on everyone, he's also the reason they've managed to survive together. As they travel toward a nearby town, the platoon passes the bodies of German civilians hanging from trees, people who were executed for refusing to fight. Once they arrive, they carefully search the town for hidden German soldiers. They question an elderly man about the enemy's location, but before he can finish pointing them out, he's suddenly shot. A fierce firefight follows, but in the end, War Daddy and his crew successfully capture the town after the Burgermeister surrenders. They rescue several women and children who had been forced into the war and eliminate the enemy commander. With the battle finally over, the soldiers celebrate their victory. A little later, their platoon is assigned to capture and defend a nearby crossroads, even though no one knows what kind of enemy force they'll face. On the way, the platoon is suddenly ambushed by a powerful German Tiger tank. The enemy's firepower overwhelms the Allied tanks, and Sergeant Davis, Sergeant Binkowski, and all of their crews are killed. Now, Fury stands alone against the deadly Tiger. Using smart tactics, War Daddy carefully directs his crew, and together they finally destroy the enemy tank. Once again, just like before, War Daddy and his crew are the only survivors. He tries to report the battle over the radio, but it's been damaged beyond use. Exhausted and emotionally drained, the crew can only laugh at the absurdity of their situation before continuing the mission. When Fury finally reaches the crossroads, disaster strikes again. The tank rolls over a landmine, destroying one of its tracks and leaving it completely immobilized. Since the repairs will take too long, War Daddy orders Kunas and Norman to search a nearby building. While checking the area, Kunas apologizes for everything that has happened between them. Finding nothing except the body of a dead German soldier, they quickly return to the tank. War Daddy then tells Norman to take the high ground and keep watch while the rest of the crew eats. While standing guard, Norman hears strange noises in the distance. Looking closer, he's horrified to see an entire German battalion marching straight toward them. He immediately runs back to warn the crew. As soon as War Daddy hears the soldiers chanting, he recognizes them as an SS battalion. Bible wants to retreat, but War Daddy refuses. He insists they must hold the crossroads because it's their mission. Kunas argues that 5 men have no chance against hundreds of enemy soldiers. In the end, War Daddy tells everyone they're free to leave if they want to, but he will stay and fight because he refuses to abandon his duty. Inspired by his determination, Norman chooses to stay. One by one, the rest of the crew decides to stand with him. After everyone commits to staying, they ask War Daddy what the plan is. He orders them to place the dead German soldier on top of Fury and burn the body, making the tank look like it has already been destroyed. Then they hide inside and wait patiently, hoping to surprise the enemy despite having very little ammunition left. As they prepare for what could be their final battle, War Daddy discovers a bottle of alcohol, and the crew shares one last drink together. Knowing they may not survive the night, Bible recites his favorite Bible verse. To everyone's surprise, War Daddy already knows the exact chapter and verse by heart. Before the battle begins, the crew also gives Norman his own war nickname, Machine, because, according to Kunas, he's now a true fighter, killer, and even a ladies' man. Not long after, Machine spots the German soldiers approaching Fury and warns the crew. Everyone gets into position as the enemy surrounds the tank. The moment a German soldier opens one of the hatches, Machine shoots him, kicking off the final battle. 5 men now stand against an entire battalion. They throw grenades, destroy enemy positions, and even blow up a nearby building full of German troops. Following War Daddy's commands, the crew inflicts heavy losses on the enemy despite being badly outnumbered. But as the battle drags on, their ammunition begins to run dangerously low. To keep the fight going, War Daddy decides to leave the tank and collect ammunition from fallen soldiers. He orders Gordo and Machine to cover him while smoke grenades hide his movement. Once he gathers enough ammo, he tells them to climb back inside. Just as War Daddy is about to return himself, several German soldiers climb onto the tank. He fights them off but is shot during the struggle. Thankfully, the wound isn't fatal. Bible quickly patches him up, and the two quietly exchange another Bible verse before preparing for the next wave of attacks. Meanwhile, the Germans bring in Panzerfaust launchers, planning to overwhelm Fury with non-stop attacks. Both sides pause briefly, carefully waiting for the other to make the first move. With only a small amount of ammunition remaining, War Daddy's crew knows every shot counts. The silence is finally broken when the Germans fire their Panzerfausts. The crew fights back with everything they have, but one rocket blasts through the side of Fury, tearing straight through Kunas and killing him instantly. Bible breaks down in grief, but War Daddy orders him to stay focused because the battle isn't over. Now down to 4 men, they continue fighting against impossible odds. Eventually, the crew runs completely out of tank ammunition. All they have left are their personal weapons and Fury's powerful .50 caliber machine gun. Realizing the defenders are nearly out of bullets, the Germans prepare for one final assault. War Daddy takes control of the machine gun while the others cover every entrance. During the fighting, Bible runs out of ammunition and climbs outside to grab a weapon from a dead German soldier. At the same time, Gordo prepares to throw a grenade, but he's shot before he can release it. The grenade falls inside the tank, and without hesitation, Gordo throws himself over it, sacrificing his own life to save War Daddy and machine. Outside, the German soldier whose weapon Bible tried to take is still alive and pins him to the ground. Another enemy moves in to finish him off, but Machine rushes over just in time and saves him. The two scramble back into the tank as smoke grenades fill the battlefield. Hidden within the smoke, a German sniper slowly crawls toward Fury, carefully lining up his next shot. As War Daddy continues holding off the enemy, he asks Bible for another grenade. The moment Bible sticks his head out of the hatch, the sniper shoots him straight through the head, killing him instantly. Seconds later, the sniper fires again, striking War Daddy. Another shot follows, but War Daddy barely manages to crawl back inside the tank. Realizing the end is near, War Daddy and Machine share an honest conversation. Machine admits he's terrified, and War Daddy quietly confesses that he is too. Machine suggests surrendering, but War Daddy warns him that the SS soldiers would only torture and kill him. Outside, the German soldiers swarm Fury and begin dropping stick grenades into the tank. Knowing there's no way to survive, War Daddy looks at Machine one last time and orders him to escape through the bottom hatch. Machine crawls underneath the tank and covers himself with mud to stay hidden. A young German soldier notices him but silently chooses to spare his life. The next morning, Machine wakes to the sound of a white horse walking past, echoing the beginning of the story. He climbs back into Fury and gently covers War Daddy's body. Hearing movement outside, he grabs War Daddy's revolver and prepares for one final fight. Instead, an American soldier opens the hatch. Realizing Machine is the lone survivor of the battle, the soldiers call him a hero and carry him away in an ambulance. War Daddy and his crew knew they had almost no chance of surviving, but they still chose to stand their ground. Instead of running, they sacrificed everything to protect the crossroads and buy time for their fellow soldiers. In the end, only Norman survived to tell their story, proving that true courage isn't about being fearless, it's about doing the right thing even when you know the odds are against you. That's what makes Fury one of the most unforgettable war movies ever made.